judges are ready. The fighters are ready. The boxing world is ready.
The fight starts now!
Let's go.
How do you like it? On the show.
So aggressive, so focused.
It all comes down to this. Still the undisputed champion of the world. DAZN Weekend Preview.
Welcome to the DAZN Boxing Show presented by AutoZone this Saturday, live from the Virgin Hotel in Las Vegas. Todd Grisham, Sergio Mora, and myself, Chris Mannix, will have the call on what I think is going to be a very good card. It begins with one of the best prospects in the Golden Boy stable, Joel Iriarte, taking on Xavier Madrid in a welterweight fight. Up next, DFG, Darius Fulgham, hoping to continue his rise against Christopher Pearson. That fight at super middleweight. And then all the belts on the line in the 112-pound division. Gabriela Fundora versus Gabriela Alaniz. A new undisputed champion will be crowned in that fight. In the co-main event, Bektemir Melikuziev will take on David Stevens in a WBA title eliminator at super middleweight. And then in the main event, Floyd Schofield, one of the most exciting young fighters in boxing, he is going to get a stiff test against Rene Tellez Giron. So Sergio, let's get into this card because like I said, I think it's going to be really good from top to bottom. And let's start really with the women's fight, which is the undisputed championship at 112 pounds. You've got Gabriela Fundora, who is a physical freak. I don't understand how these Fundoras, Gabriela and her brother Sebastian, can be this big and get down to these sizes. Gabriela Fundora is a 5'9", 112-pounder, which is remarkable, coming off a knockout win over Christina Cruz. You got Gabrielle Alaniz, La Chucky. She beat Marlon Esparza in her last fight to become the unified champion at 112. A pretty interesting clash of styles, I think, Sergio. What do you make of this one?
I think it's going to be an excellent fight for undisputed. I mean, these women, they need to get their limelight. They need to get their respect. Fundora's fighting on all comers, and she's an excellent body puncher, which is what you don't see much of in women's boxing. That's what I think is so special about her. The fact that she's freakishly tall, she has a long, very long reach. She's a southpaw. I mean, everything you don't want in a fighter, she has it, and she's a body puncher. This is what makes her exciting to watch, and she goes for the knockout. But like Chucky Alaniz, I mean, this is a fighter that's coming off her best win of her career with an Olympian and a champion in Marlon Esparza, so she has momentum going her way. She knows how to fight small. She knows how to loop her shots. She has the experience. 50-50 type fight, and it's for undisputed. Excellent, excellent card. Not only a card, excellent fight.
Yeah, I think the key is going to be, can Alaniz get on the inside? You know, she is going to be giving up a lot in height, in reach to Fundora. And we saw in the two fights against Marlon Esparza, both of which were close, that Esparza had her most success when she was able to keep Alaniz on the end of that jab. If Alaniz winds up on the end of Fundora's jab, it could be an ugly night for her because Fundora not only has a good jab, but she's powerful. So I think Alaniz is going to have to find a way to make this a physical fight. Fundora is just really good. Like I really admire her overall game. Like going up against an experienced fighter like Christina Cruz, she fought exceptionally well. And look, the stoppage was a little weird. Christina Cruz wound up turning around in that fight. Fundora kind of charged and took advantage of it. But she picked up another knockout. She's one of the few punchers in all of women's boxing. I like Fundora to get the win there, but I think it is going to be a tough physical fight between both women. And I think it's also great to have another undisputed champion. It's always good to have these undisputed champions in boxing. Let's look, Sergio, though, at the co-main event. Bektemir Melikuziev, who is a familiar name to people that watch DAZN, he is back in action against David Stevens. Beck has long since put that knockout loss to Gabe Rosado in the rearview mirror. He avenged that loss. He's won a couple of fights since then. He continues to be just a savage body puncher. And David Stevens was a guy that for a while you thought he was a top-level prospect in boxing. He picked up a knockout loss, though, in the first round a couple of fights ago, has one win since then. But do you think David Stevens is the kind of guy that can put up a fight against just an aggressive puncher like Bektemir Melikuziev?
He could put up a fight for about 3 minutes. I mean, this is the type of fight I see this going. It's going to be an early night, Chris Mannix. Don't blink in this one. We know Beck the Bully likes starting fast. He's had first-round knockouts before. David Stevens goes for the knockout early. He's one of these guys that keeps his chin in the air. He lures you in thinking you can hit him. You fall short, and then he knocks you out. He's been on the bad end of a knockdown. He gets up and knocks out the other guy. Exciting fighter. This fight doesn't go the distance. He has a chance to do it because we've seen Melikuziev get knocked out early as well against Gabe Rosado. This is going to be a gunslinging type fight. Do not blink. Someone's getting knocked out early, and I think it's going to be David Stevens.
Yeah, and you called his first-round knockout loss to Joshawn James back in 2023. And to your point, he's not very good defensively. And when he gets hit, his instinct is to try to just throw and hit back. That's not unique amongst fighters, but he doesn't have that grab and hold, try to get out of the way, try to get out of the line of fire type of mentality. James kind of exposed that. What do you remember about that fight? Because that was supposed to be like a competitive 50-50 type of fight between two guys that were, prospects at 168.
He doesn't know how to survive. That's defensively, when you're flawed like that, you're not going to make it on the top level, even against guys like the ones that he's facing now. He needs to learn how to bend his knees because he's a tall fighter. He likes fighting behind that big power, upper body movement, defense, footwork. So he needs to mind that. We know he has the offense. We know he has the toughness, the heart, and the chin, but you need more than that. So that's what I learned in that fight. The fact that David Stevens is the type of fighter that brings offense but lacks defense. He's always going to be exciting to watch. I mean, we're going to love him fighting all the way until his career is over because he's that type of fighter. He's going to give you the goods. But can he actually cross over to the championship level? I need to see way more from this kid.
Yeah, and I think it's a good opponent then for Bektemir Melikuziev, who is now kind of approaching that world title range. He's ranked in the top 15 by 3 of the 4 sanctioning bodies. This fight is going to be a fight between 2 guys that are ranked in the top 10 by the WBA. So winning and looking impressive could do a lot for Bektemir Melikuziev because, look, he's not going to get Canelo, but 168 is as deep as most of the divisions in all of boxing. There's a lot of talent, politically, that can be made for Bektemir Melikuziev. You've got Diego Pacheco out there. You've got Edgar Berlanga out there. What Melikuziev needs is a television-friendly win. He needs to go out there and beat the brakes off of David Stevens, rise up those rankings, and put himself in a position to get a big fight. Because right now, like I said, we're no longer talking about the Rosado fight. That's long since in the past. It's all about Beck kind of getting himself in that world title picture. Do you think he's closing in on that? Do you think he's ready for one of those high-level world title caliber fights?
Yeah, as far as skill and talent, yes, he's ready. But as far as name recognition, no, because Berlanga's not going to look his way. He just finished cashing out on a huge payday with Canelo. He's not going to go backwards and face a tough fighter for less money. And Diego Pacheco is number 1 contender. He's been knocking out everybody. He's knocking on a title shot. He's not going to want to risk that against a Beck the Bully either. So you said it. I mean, he needs to build up his name recognition. He does that by getting knockouts, by doing what he used to do when he first came out before he got stopped against Rosado, having that confidence, going, for gusto. That's what fans remember. And that's why they called him the bully. So he needs to go back to those bully days and go back to those knockout ways.
All right, let's talk about the main event. Floyd Schofield is back. He's undefeated, 17-0, and I think he's going to get a good test in this fight from Rene Tellez Giron. 3 losses on the resume for Giron, but he is on a 3-fight winning streak right now, has some good wins on his resume. I remember a few years ago, I was in Southern California when he stopped Carlos Balderas. That was a terrific win for Giron. Are you expecting a tough fight in this main event?
Well, there is another undefeated, up and comer, just like this fight here with Schofield. I mean, Schofield, Golden Boy's really, they're investing a lot in Schofield, which I like, but they're also testing him. That's what Golden Boy does. They're one of the best matchmakers in the game because it's sink or swim with them. And this is that type of fight with Giron. Giron has a better resume between the two. Giron probably, I would say, as better defense, better technique. Schofield has the hand speed, the athleticism, but he does get hit because he likes mixing it up. If he mixes it up with Giron, it's going to be a longer night than expected. I'm favoring Schofield in this fight because I think he's learned from his past ways. The disqualification fight that he had was rough and rugged. That Haskell Rhodes fight was rougher than expected. So he knows not to go in those type of fights, especially against a Mexican style that wants to make it that type of fight. Giron has faced the better opposition. So let's get that out the way. So if he is going to lure the young buck into a fight, fans are in for a great treat. That's one. But Schofield might be in for an upset if he does that.
Can I just, as an aside, ask you, how do you reconcile the hot take that you had about Tim Tszyu in tougher fights than he should be in, or bad matchmaking, and Golden Boy does a great job by putting their young guys in really tough fights? Where is the connection there? How do those two worlds collide?
I love that you asked me this question on this platform, which is unexpected, Chris Mannix, but I'm going to tell you right now, just like I shut you up on your podcast, the fact that Tim Tszyu was already a world champion, was already had a country behind his back, who was supposed to be the future, has been the former champions. He had star potential. It takes a lot to be a star. It takes charisma, which you can't teach, and it takes power, which you definitely can't teach. And Tim Tszyu had the legacy, the last name from his famous father and Hall of Famer in Kostya. He had everything you want. And then he got matchmaker against a guy that you weren't supposed to fight, and he got knocked out. Not only knocked out, he got beat up brutally. He probably won't be the same in his career. It's probably going to be not over, but it's not going to be where it was. That's not the same thing with Floyd Schofield. Schofield is not a name. Schofield needs to be in these big fights. He got the main event after Virgil Ortiz wasn't able to get that main event slot. He shined in a tough fight where he got cut and it was exciting and knockdowns. Now he's the main event, but now he needs to be a little bit more careful. He owns a perfect style matchup, but it's sink or swim. And Golden Boy's like, hey, whoever wins here, they get to move on. They'll get another main event slot.
All right. I still don't get it, but we'll move on from that. As specifically with Schofield, I want to see what kind of growth we're going to see with his boxing style. The last few fights, Sergio, we have seen Floyd Schofield badly cut. And he has been badly cut because he has this unorthodox lunging style that puts him in significant danger of getting a bad headbutt. And we're talking cuts that were deep, cuts that required long breaks. And more importantly, like as the level of competition, I think, for Floyd Schofield increases, not only is he going to be in danger of absorbing a bad cut, but the right opponent with the right kind of counterpunching power is going to catch him, right? Like these lunges coming in, they're going to get him in trouble at some point. I think his father's done a really nice job with him up until this point. He's got some good people in his corner. But Sergio, I'm of the opinion that this style that Floyd has fought up until this point is unsustainable. Like you can't win at the highest level lunging as often as he lunges. What do you think?
No, it's sustainable because he's been doing it his entire career. He's going to get a lot of cuts on his face. I mean, that's going to be one thing. He's probably going to run into bigger shots by bigger punchers, and he's going to have to, develop a chin and heart and have to peel himself off the canvas. But he's proven he has heart. He's going to be an exciting fighter and a ticket seller. But if they want to, maneuver him the right way, they gotta watch out for guys like Giron. But look, this right now they haven't won a world championship. They haven't lost that zero either. So, as long as they hold on to that zero against a guy like Giron, who's already lost that zero against the tough fighters, that's what prepares.
Can I just stop? Can we wait? That is an insane take to me, because you as a fighter were one of the smarter fighters out there. You and your trainer always had brilliant game plans. You counterpunched, did a lot of things that took advantage of guys that fought exactly like Floyd Schofield. If you were fighting Floyd Schofield and you're fighting Days, if you were at the same weight class and you saw an opponent that leapt in as often as Floyd leapt in, like, wouldn't you salivate at coming up with a game plan that could counterpunch him? I'm just saying, you can't win at the championship level fighting like that. You can't. You might be able to beat some of the guys he's been able to beat, but you simply cannot win against elite 135s. Look, he's number 2 right now in the WBA rankings. There's William Zepeda and there's Tank Davis, the champion. What do you think happens if he fights this style against Tank Davis? Like, hypothetically, what do you think happens in that situation?
what question should I answer? You asked me like 3 questions there. Let's go back to the game plan with me and my trainer. First of all, we hated short, stocky, athletic, smart fighters. I remember I had Kareem Mayfield, who's similar built to Sean Porter. He came into our gym and he was like a little linebacker. He was rough on the inside, threw a bunch of punches. He made me look bad in sparring. He didn't get the best of me. It was a sloppy type fight. Sean Porter did that to great fighters, to great type, fighters that beat him. He came up short on the big stage, but he gave them all everything they can handle. You avoid those styles. You fight behind a jab. You make it a boring fight and try to catch them with uppercuts coming in. But it's easier said than done. Now, what's the other question you asked me? Because I forgot.
Tank Davis. If he fights Tank Davis, what would the outcome be right now with that style against a counterpuncher like Tank?
Tank Davis will destroy him. He'll annihilate him because Tank Davis, one, is a bigger puncher, two, he's a southpaw, three, he has a better feet, and he knows how to set up big punches. In order to beat Tank, you have to beat him by decision. You're not going to knock him out. He has good enough technique and good enough timing and footwork to get out of the way, and he sets you up. He doesn't mind falling behind on the scorecards, and he knocks you out. He has that type of eraser. He has that luxury to give up rounds like that. So certain fighters are able to do it. So that's a bad matchup with Tank.
No. I like Floyd Schofield, but in order for him to get to a championship level, there needs to be some tweaks to his game. That's just my take. We'll see in this fight and the others moving forward how it all plays out.
Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm only 22 years old. I'm not even in my prime yet, but I feel many levels above these champions and contenders. What separates me from these other guys is my hunger and my work ethic. These other guys are too soft. I'm prepared to knock everyone out to reach my goal.